Marks. Hello, everybody. I was just saying, on your marks, get set and go, because today we have Caren Cooper with us, and I love what Caren does. She works with nutrition and many other things. Caren, welcome to the Mindset Alchemy podcast. Delighted to have you. How are you today?
I'm very well. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited for today.
I'm excited to have you. Caren, please could you tell people where you are and what you do?
I am in Staten Island. I'm trying to say this like without like making it one word like I always do. Staten Island, New York. I'm originally from Brooklyn, so I speak very quickly. So I'm trying to very be cognizant of how I speak, by the way. Like so you can understand what I'm saying.
That helps.
I'm in Staten Island, New York, and I am a health and mindset coach.
Wonderful. Now, I love what you say, that you went from dieting basically to wellness. Would you like to share a little bit about that? Because personally, the word diet means to me collection of food, and I know for many people it means many other things. Could you share with us a bit on that, please?
Yeah, I mean, I was on that never-ending hamster wheel, right? So it's like I'm going to try to fit into an article of clothing, or like the beginning of the year. Look, we're in almost November. It's like, okay, beginning of the year, we're gonna get healthy and and that's it. And then, you get going and then you stop. And it was just like this never-ending cycle, I felt like. And diet just seems to me like there was an end game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you get to the goal and then you stop. Whereas wellness, there is no end game. It's a lifestyle. I say it's a lifestyle, not a life sentence. So with it's really, but it's not about deprivation either. It's not about, and diet also has deprivation. There's deprivation to me. Like, this is just my personal thing. Like when I was dieting, it's like I couldn't have something. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
of course, when you can't have something, it's the one thing that you want.
Yes.
Um, it's like, think about it for kids too. Same thing. You take something away from a kid. What do they want? They want the thing you took away from them. And so with wellness, it's more about nourishment
Ah.
and nourishing your body, but not having the guilt and the shame associated with, I love ice cream.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a sweets person. And like my birthday every year, Carvel ice cream cake with crunchies. And I have no shame and no guilt about it. Because guess what? We're allowed to have quote unquote cheap food. And there's also healthier ways to make quote unquote cheap food as well. But I'm just saying, like, there's no shame or guilt with, having Carvel ice cream cake on your birthday.
You know, it's so interesting. I find that shame and guilt actually packs the kilos on, packs the fat on.
Yeah.
Whereas if we just enjoy it and we joyful about it, the joyfulness just melts it away. It's the most amazing thing. So, Caren, once you switched over and you pivoted from deprivation into desire and doing and your dreams, what did that feel like?
Oh God, it felt like almost like a weight was lifted off. As as I'm
Good
saying it,
fun.
I realized the irony. Like, I caught myself in the irony. But yeah, I on even though I lost weight, but like the coolest thing that happened to me when I started was I felt human. And
Mm.
what I mean by that is this: I was walking around in such a fog and so much exhaustion and so much miserableness and playing the victim and just angry and cranky and ugh, all the time. And when I actually, oh, my apologies, I forgot to shut off my breathing alarm. That's my breathing alarm. Um, when I started to feel good, so when I was miserable and all those things, it was 100% taking effect on not just me, but my family and like everybody around me, quite
Mhm.
frankly. And when I started to feel human and not fall asleep, but no, I was working in corporate America, I was like 3 o'clock slump. I'd be like this at my desk. I
Gosh,
was like, wait a minute. But I was also putting myself and my needs first. So because I was feeling good and I was like no longer playing the victim and I was understanding, I was much more happier, much more joyous. And it was absolutely trickling down to not only me, but my family and those people around me.
that is very powerful. So many times I see this. Somebody said to me once, "Did you know? Look at the composition of the word diet. It's got die in it." So yes, that makes a lot of sense.
Exactly.
really does. Something I've also learned, and I'd like to hear your take on it, is I refuse to use the words lose weight. I do use them, and yet I dislike using them because losing weight is losing mass, which is muscle, and women require muscle for hormone production. So do men. Women just have less of it. I far, far prefer to say releasing fat. What is your take on that?
You know, it's so funny because when I first started, I would talk about weight loss. Like I really would. And now that I'm in my mid 50s and in menopause, and I'm like, wait a minute, that's not necessarily the way to go, if you will. You know what I'm saying? It's, you know, and now I really talk about it as health. So
Okay.
even though, yeah, even though like I'll show, you know, transformations or something like that, it's really more about, because weight loss, I feel like is sometimes a component. Like it just sometimes it just is like it's some things that people are looking to lose extra pounds that they have accumulated on their body. So there is a weight loss component sometimes involved to what people are looking for, but it's doing it in a way that you're still nourishing all the other parts of your body as well.
Mhm.
So I talk about it in terms of health, being healthy, but I also talk about it in terms of being able to do things you weren't necessarily able to do prior to getting healthy. For example, recently I saw a transformation. She couldn't walk up a flight of stairs without like huffing and puffing. So it's like, oh my God, you can walk up a flight of stairs now. You know what I'm saying? So it's stuff like it's being able to, like somebody else I know couldn't go on a roller coaster with their children because they couldn't literally couldn't fit.
I've
And
seen
now, you know
that.
what I'm saying? So it's
Yes.
really about being able to do things in a way that you hadn't been able to do them before.
Basically, it's adapting your lifestyle.
Right.
It's adapting, readapting, or I call it resculpting your body and your
Mhm. Yeah.
lifestyle. So that's very much what it is. Now, I absolutely love when you say you have a gift for our audience called Unscrew Yourself. Would you like to share what that's about, please?
Yes. So in my journey of health and wellness, I really dove into personal development. And long story short, I'm recently certified in trauma informed mindset coaching. And so I have a 12-week course coming out using the framework that I use, that I transformed, called My Magic. And it's a 12-week course called Unscrew Yourself that helps you untie the knots in your stomach so that you'll never be in your own way again. And we go over it's a group session. Like I said, it's 12 weeks, but you get, you know, the group session every week, and then there's 6 individual support sessions as well. So you get like hot seat coaching and just like support and whatnot, and there's worksheets. And it really is like we're talking about the health and wellness and rewiring and reprogramming. It's the same thing with the mind, because the mind has a lot to do with, we were talking about, put in the beginning, we were talking about nourishment and deprivation. The mind has a lot to do with that as well. So being healthy is not just what you're feeding your mouth, it's also what you're feeding your mind.
Yes.
And it works in reverse also. It's, you know, your thoughts and your feelings and all the things. So Unscrew Yourself is rewiring, reprogramming all your limiting thoughts, beliefs, reprogramming fear, all the things that we have going on now, rewiring and reprogramming and becoming a higher version of your current self.
That is amazing. How did you find the mindset work? What was a stumbling block for you, and what was a launch pad? So that's actually 2 questions. Let's deal with the stumbling block, and then we'll come to the launch pad.
The stumbling block was I recognized that I was holding myself back in my health and wellness business. Like
Ah,
I was like, it was just, I don't know that there was one specific thing, but I just felt something within me saying, you're holding yourself back, you need to do more, there's more, you need to figure this out. Like it's within you. Like I had to take responsibility, I had to look within me and not externally blame anything. I had to be like, okay, I'm not doing the work, I'm not doing, you know, things that I could be doing in order to benefit myself, not only myself, but, you know, people that I help. What's going on here? And so I started to then look for something that would help me break through. And that was the stumbling block.
Okay. So you say you were able to break through. What was the launching pad or the springboard for you?
At that time I had been in a networking group, and one of the women had a program called Rebel School, and I just loved the name. I was obsessed with the name. Her name is Dr. Melissa Bird. I'm going to give her credit, and she's amazing. And she had a 12-week program called Rebel School, and I was like, oh my God! And I just loved the name, but I also loved what it was about, because it was, again, diving deep into within you. So that was my springboard into everything else, was that Rebel School. I had some breakthroughs, and I had some understanding, and then I needed more. And then I
That's
knew I needed even more.
amazing. That's amazing. And through this, how did you manage to connect with your soul?
A lot of I'm going to be very transparent here. It's messy and ugly and not pretty, but I did the work. And that's just the truth. The work works when you work it, and I don't care what it is that you're doing. If
And
you
what
don't do the work, it won't work.
I agree with you. That inner work is, people look outside of themselves. Meanwhile, it's all inside of themselves. What did that work feel like for you? What did you do, and what did it feel like more than look like?
Part of the work was ending my marriage.
Now, that's an
So
interesting point of view. Share with
I
us
don't
a
recommend
bit
that
on
for,
that.
I'm gonna caveat all that by saying, that was just my personal experience, guys. So, but yeah, that was part of the work. I mean, was, in going further, that's when I found, Tracy Litt and her work and Mind Magic. And long story short, it was in my case, it was, my marriage had been not great for many. Listen, every time a marriage ends, it's not just one, it's not instant. There were things leading up to it, and there were things leading up to it. But being able to look inward and being able to do the work was like, okay, we both knew it was over. We just finally literally pulled the band-aid and ended it. But in the sense of, we ended it very consciously, in the sense of, um, we were like, nope, we have children together, so we're going to be in each other's lives, so let's be humans and let's be friends. And so we've been very, highly conscious about ending our marriage and being able to, you know be friends and co-parent very, very well together. So that was one of the things that made the change. And also, honestly, it was really taking responsibility, not for my actions, not just in my marriage, but radical personal responsibility in general speaking.
Mhm.
So the inner work looks like, taking responsibility for your own actions, not looking externally, not, I'm thinking, oh, well, they made me do this. No, I did that. I felt that way. I did this, but it's also healing. It's also writing forgiveness. Like, there's like many layers to it, but what it looked like was writing forgiveness letters, writing FU letters, and not sending them. Just fun fact, not sending them, but writing things
Burning them,
out,
burning them.
journaling, crying, screaming, carrying on like a lunatic, a lot of crying, lots of crying. But being in the feelings, the biggest thing I can say about the inner work is feeling the feelings, because I didn't. And I think a lot of us don't. We don't want to feel the feelings and stuff like that. And so we bypass the feelings, but
Mhm.
it's not bypassing. And by the way, I'm going to let you in on a little secret, guys. It's healing, feeling.
Yeah.
ING at the end. There's no ED. It's never ending. It's the same thing with
Yes.
health and wellness. It's never ending.
Yeah.
It's a journey. It's a lifestyle. It's something that you continuously do. And rather than looking at it like, oh, it never ends, I can't believe it, I'm not there yet. You're not where you were a year ago either. So
That is so true. Can you expand on that a little bit about the time space continuum of it?
because it doesn't feel like you're doing anything when you're in it, right? Like, it just
Yes.
doesn't. It doesn't. You're like, because a lot of times listen, when you're not connected to your body, and I learned this by doing the work, like I was totally in survival mode, right? And by that I mean, like, I was just hustling and bustling, and I was never feeling my feelings. I never sat still for 5 seconds, because if I sat still for 5 seconds, then I would feel the feelings, and that would just suck
Yes.
flat out. So the reversing that, and it's also unfamiliar. Your body is not used to it. So you know what I'm saying? Like, I wasn't used to it. I'm a recovering control freak, codependent, what did I say? Control freak or people pleaser. Those are my three flavors. And I did, because I did everything for everybody else. So if you're a people pleaser, if you're doing everything, you're saying yes to everybody, but never yourself. And reversing that and changing that, I'm 54. Dude, I've been living like this for a long time. So it takes time, effort, and energy to reverse it. And your body is like, what the hell? Your brain is like, wait a minute, I'm not used to this, and I'm going to do something to make sure, it sends signals like you're in danger when you're really not, but it thinks you are because it doesn't know from it.
Yeah.
That's why you have to sit in it and continuously do it, because it doesn't necessarily feel like you're getting anywhere a lot of the times when you're sitting in it and doing it. But what happens is, it's like anything, when you're consistent, when you take the consistent daily action, one foot in front of the other. And I always like go back to like this Christmas thing, it's like one foot, there's a song from one of the Christmas shows, one foot in front of the other, and still you'd be walking out the door. You will get there. You may not see it, but like in a week's time, 2 weeks time, even a year, I don't even know the person I was a year ago. I have no idea who that person is.
Yes.
But if you would have told me that a year ago, I wouldn't have believed you. So it's really understanding that you just do the work, knowing that it's the same thing with when I tell people about when I work with people with health and wellness. If you're going to look at yourself in the mirror every day, you're not going to see the change. But then one day you're going to look in the mirror and you'll be like, oh my God, wait a minute, I look different.
Yeah. Yes. Definitely, it's that one step at a time. I know with myself on my fat release journey and emotional release journey, it is so, so important. You mentioned children. How has this shift in your consciousness helped your children? I'm not just talking from a marriage perspective. I'm also talking from the understanding, the awareness, and the healing. And I love the way you put that. It is such a truth.
Thank you. My kid, well, let me point out that my children are 22 and 17. Because I think that's important to know how old they are when I answer this question. It's allowed me to parent different in terms of a lot of times oftentimes I was reacting to what they were saying and taking it personally, rather than looking at what they were saying. Even though they weren't saying how they were feeling, it was a way for them to say something without saying it fully. So I wasn't looking like at what they were saying and why they were saying it. So I'm able to decode a little bit differently. And listen, and by the way, fun fact, I also want to point this out, we're human. So like, this isn't all the time. Fun fact, okay? Like I need you, we are all parents, and like, sometimes we just, it just is. But it's allowed me but it's also allowed me to be aware of that too. So when I do fly off the handle, I'm like, okay, wait a minute, why did I do that? So it's allowed me to make changes in that respect and understand them from a deeper level, and not try to fix certain things. Sometimes they just want to know they hear, they're heard and understood. And the other thing is, it's allowed me, my daughter is 22 and a recent college graduate, and she's, come upon certain things that I've done, in her lifetime as a mom, and she's let me know in not so many words, but I'm able to hear her.
Yes.
And take responsibility for some of my, in some cases, she's, and also call her out. So I was able to take responsibility for the actions, but also be able to say to her that I can't help in certain instances how she feels about, I understand how she feels, but like that's not on me. You know what I'm saying? Like, and by call her out, I mean, like, there's certain things that she was putting on me that weren't necessarily on me. So I'm able to have these, instead of having these arguments or heated discussions, it's more of a conversation with them, and understand that there is a lot of change. And she just graduated, my son's graduating high school, and there's a lot of change. There's been a lot of change going on in their lives for the last year and a half, and be more compassionate about it.
I love that word, compassionate. It really talks to a lot of areas that we sometimes beat ourselves up as. Tell me a secret. What was the better way you used of releasing people pleasing as far as possible? Because let's be honest, once a people pleaser, always a people pleaser. Avoid how, Janine? What was the better way you used?
I hired a coach.
Cool. Share a bit about it.
Coaches need coaches, guys.
Coaches do
Um,
require coaches. Yes, I agree with you.
what I did was when I first separated, I hired a divorce coach, actually. Yeah, somebody I know is a divorce, by the way, most brilliant thing ever. A divorce coach. And so she helped me with a lot of things. And then and that's actually when I realized I didn't know that that's what I was doing, by the way. Once I got separated, I was like, oh, people pointed that. I'm like, oh, I had no idea. So that's the other thing. Something you need community and like account people like telling you, calling you out on stuff. So the first thing I did was hire the divorce coach. And then once I was finished with that, and that helped me with that end, and I was still doing like other things. I hired a boundaries, because I also had I couldn't set boundaries either. So I was all of that. And I don't want to say I couldn't do it on my own. I needed help. And I don't think it's terrible to ask for, like, I used to be the type, no, I can do it on myself and I don't need any help. And you know what I'm saying? And no, you know, it's not so terrible to ask for help. And I hired a Krista Resnick. I'm going to call her out too. She's freaking amazing. And I worked with her. I believe
Say
her
the name again. Geez,
Krista Resnick. Krista
Oh,
Resnick was my coach, my boundaries coach. And I worked with her and I did the work. And again, it's doing the work that, you know, and doing all of those things and releasing. And that's where I learned the FU letters and the journaling and that, you know, and the temper tantrum. She called it temper tantrum technique. Like a little kid throws literally a temper tantrum. So it's, you know, you need to release, you need to get it out. So temper tantrum, rage rooms was another one. Another thing that she did. So doing what, you know, she informed me to do and helping me see different perspectives and things like that. So working with her, I was able to release and understand. And now because of it, and I have the recordings and I have all the things, so I can always go back and look at, you know, because, you know, sometimes we do fall by the wayside, you know, and whatnot, because it's continuous work. So I can go back and look, or I can, you know, go back and do certain things that we worked on.
wow,
And find out that maybe we didn't.
that is so powerful. Caren, if you could share one tip or two with our audience, what would that be for success?
Be willing. Willing is a word that just came to me. It's funny. I know someone who actually uses this in speeches, but you know, I think about Caren from like 9-10 years ago, and I would have been listening to me now and be like, oh, you're weird.
I love it.
I thought it was okay. I was that person who like would have never even been on this podcast, full transparency, right? So like, so like I was that person, you know what I'm saying? And I was so hell bent on staying the way I was for a really long time, with a knowing that I didn't want to be, but I was never willing to make the change. And I had to get to what I call my own version of rock bottom in order to be willing to make that change. And what I'd like to say to the audience is, don't wait for something to happen to make that change. Maybe get ahead of the 8 ball, because if there's any part of you that is like, I know there's something more out there, I want to make that change, I don't know how. If like you're feeling like that in any way, shape, or form, when you know you want to, but like there's this fear, or there's this, your thoughts are like, I don't know how, that's when you do it. Because I'm not mad that I waited or anything like that. It has nothing to do with that. But I knew for so long that I wanted to do something, and I just never took action on it. And there was a lot of shame and guilt and whatever else involved with it. And it doesn't have to be like that. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be, you know, waiting for something to happen, but like, okay, wait, this is the impetus. Because maybe sometimes that is because that's the impetus to make the change. But if you have that knowing, know that maybe it's the unfamiliarity of it all that's holding you back.
I said,
that's what it is.
Yeah, it is. I said to somebody this morning, a client this morning, we create from tension, and yet people run away from it because they're unaware of this.
Correct.
I love the way you put that. Oh, Caren, thank you so much for being here. People, remember to check out Caren's offer in the show notes. And Caren, have a grand, glorious, and amazing day. What would you like to leave? I know you've given them a huge nugget there. Just one more special thing for them, for us.
And first of all, thank you so much for having me. This was absolutely amazing. And I so appreciate just even being given this platform, and you're amazing and you do amazing things. And I'm just so excited to even know you. And the one thing that I want to leave you with, guys, because I think often we don't believe that we are worthy and we are enough, and it is our birthright to be worthy and enough and deserve.
Wow. People, see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.